Okay, so we've got some people still filtering in, but I just wanted to say good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name's Peter Lenarden. I'm the Customer Success Manager at Communitech. I'm very excited for today's webinar, Doing Business with the Government of Canada. Before we introduce the speakers, I've just got a couple of housekeeping items. So just a reminder, the session's being recorded, so it can be shared at a later date as a resource for other companies. You can find all of our AMA recordings at communitech.ca. You may want to minimize your speaker view on the right-hand side of your screen, just so you can kind of see the full presentation. And I'll also ask that you just keep your microphone on mute for the duration of the presentation. Hey, well, you can ask questions anytime you want in the chat, but we're gonna, the guys from Public Services and Procurement are going to answer them at the end. And as always, if you're interested in following up after the session, connect with your Communitech advisor or CSM, and they can connect you, or feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Lastly, Communitech's running Ask Me Anything sessions on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. You can check the event section at communitech.ca. So with that, I'll turn it over to Hersey Hujala, who does government relations for Communitech, to introduce today's speakers. Hersey?
Thanks, Peter. Hi, all. It's good to see some of you again. You know, over the last little while, we've had, as you probably know, a lot of ministers and senior government officials come through Waterloo Region, whether it's virtually or in person. And, you know, they often ask us, what's the most important thing we can do, or the big thing we can do to help companies scale up? And, you know, often right at the top list has been government procurement. I think there's a consensus that Canada could be doing a little more to more intentionally support startups and scaling companies like a lot of other countries do, to leverage the government's purchasing power. So this is something that we've been pushing very hard on with our federal and provincial partners to step up on, and especially since the crisis kind of set in the spring, we've been pushing the federal government to really use this lever because demand is what really moves the needle in terms of growth. Although things like tax incentives and immigration policy are great, demand is a place where we could be doing a lot better. So we thought we'd bring this group together to kind of just figure out how we can use the current system to better help you. And so we have Louis Martin and Alain here to provide a presentation to ask questions. So without further ado, I think I'll pass it over to them. Louis is the Regional Director of Public Services and Procurement Canada, which is the big department in Ottawa that leads up the government's procurement activities. And Alain Martel is the Stakeholder Engagement Specialist with Public Service and Procurement Canada. So with that said, I think I'll pass it over now.
Thank you, Hersey. And thank you everyone for being here. We are very excited to be with you today to talk about our little team, as Hersey said, and how it can help firms like yours. Basically, it's what we do. We are here to support the supplier community, the current supplier community, and the future supplier community as well. So, as I said, thank you, Peter and Communitech. We're very excited to be here. It's always exciting to talk to innovative, growth-oriented enterprises and to learn what they're working on and how we can support them. So Alain will do a quick run through of what we call our myth busting presentation, which gives a sense of opportunities at the federal level. He'll also do a quick demo of the website that we use to find opportunities and to get registered. And finally, I'll just jump back in at the end to mention two other programs that you'll want to be aware of if you aren't already. So these are kind of additional links that we always like to provide as OSME to other government departments and programs, because from the outside, it may look like one big block that is government, but on the inside, we know that it's a whole bunch of different programs and people together. So, Alain, why don't you go ahead and get started?
I will. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. We're going to be talking about two things: doing business with the federal government, but also myths that are out there about the federal government and how hard it is to do business. We're going to try and break down those barriers for you. My name is Alain Martel. I'll be your presenter for the webinar. It is sponsored by the Office of the Small Medium Enterprise. As mentioned, we are part of the Public Services and Procurement Canada, the bigger department. But we're here to support smaller business, understand the procurement process, provide advice and tips on how to sell to the government, and engage you, assist you, inform you, and advocate for you to senior management so that we can get things moving forward. So we offer seminars to help you register your business and find opportunities, one-on-one meetings to provide more personalized support for your business. And we have a call center, the info line, which is a 1-800 number, 1-800-811-1148, and they can answer any questions related to procurement, or you can go directly to our buyandSell.gc.ca website. So we have 6 regional offices across Canada to basically cover all of you. Just before joining the federal government, just so you know my background, I was a supplier of the government of Canada for over 30 years. And I dealt really in informatics and used my IT acumen to provide complete solutions to complex IT problems. And I was awarded a standing offer, which we will talk about a little bit down the road. But I am focused on educating small and medium enterprise. I want to break down those barriers for you to procurement so that you can be successful in obtaining contract awards. I'm going to, once I'm done this presentation, I'm going to go to a live demonstration of our website, www.buyandSell.gc.ca. And I will cover how to register your company, how to obtain your procurement business number, which is mandatory, or you can't get paid. We'll look at the tender application and look at an actual bid and how we can respond to it. What's the size of the market that we buy? In 2017, we bought over $15 million or $15 billion rather, and awarded over 400,000 contracts. Just give me a second here. Yeah, and so the government has a lot of myths, and one of them is that the government doesn't buy from smaller businesses. That is totally incorrect. In 2017, for example, 10% of the contracts valued over $25,000 were awarded to different departments, but 90% of the contracts that are valued under $25,000 went to small and medium enterprises. We also did direct purchases from vendors under $10,000 to the tune of almost $500 million. One of the other is that you're too small to sell to the government. That's not correct. In addition to doing business with large companies, the Government of Canada buys from solopreneurs, small independent businesses, established local businesses, growing startups, which is very important for your community. And we even deal with medium-sized businesses that we consider up to 500 employees. One of the other myths is that the government doesn't buy from businesses like mine. We believe in inclusive procurement, and we also believe that all suppliers must have an equal chance of doing business with us, which include things like green and clean tech, women-owned businesses, women-led businesses, underrepresented groups, Indigenous people, new Canadians, and social enterprises. So we try and cover all of the gamut of the small medium enterprise. Another myth is that the government doesn't buy what I sell. Well, we buy usual commodities, things like technology, military, property rather, professional services, construction. But we're doing things innovative like catering services. We're now including, we are doing a pilot on that per se. Things like snow removal and landscaping to give a better a better landscape for our small medium enterprises to participate. We also, dogs and dog grooming. There's a sale right now for the horses in the musical ride of the RCMP as an example. So we buy everything from soup to nuts to you name it, ships, airplanes, etc. Government procurement is difficult. That's another one we're trying to break down. Yes, it can be a little frustrating, but all procurement activities are to be open, fair, and transparent. We're governed by federal laws, regulations that Treasury Board issues, and policies to guide the Government of Canada's procurement process. So we try at the Office of Small Medium Enterprises to walk you through that process and make it easier for you. We're also working on some initiatives like electronic procurement, which we're onboarding right now. We want to reduce the paperwork, so we're doing electronic bid submission now through EPOS. We've reduced the payments from 30 days down to 15 days after delivery. We've revamped our contracts to use plain language so you can understand better what you're doing. And of course, we're reducing the barriers to entry with all these new initiatives. Government procurement is centralized. It used to be centralized. That's not really the case anymore. You're dealing with 104 different departments. We, Public Services and Procurement Canada, divested ourselves from the smaller dollar volume contracts. So we're dealing with larger, more complex contracts. And so we manage them. But your floor or your prospect are over 100 departments and agencies that buy their own goods and services and have delegation of authority to do so. So they can direct a contract to you if they can justify it. We always look to competitive procurement. We always ask for 3 quotes when we do. So anything over $25,000 is published on our buy and sell website. And it's awarded through the solicitation of bids. And when we go live on there, I'll show you on the left-hand side all of the different filters that there are for notice of procurement, request for proposal, request for interest. There's a variety of methods that we use to supply. And when we go through the tender, we will show you how it indicates how the government intends to buy the good or service and how you should really answer to the bid itself. Low dollar value procurements are awarded using a competitive process. Again, we ask for a minimum of 3 quotes. There is non-competitive approaches that can be used. Remember, we're in COVID-19 emergency situations right now. So we can use those powers to go and get personal protective equipment for our people. We're always looking to get best value for Canadians while enhancing access, competition, and fairness to businesses. And we identify suppliers through our own networks. We have our own databases. And this is where the federal supplier registration system comes in. We can identify you through our different databases once you're registered to get your procurement business number. We deal a lot with suppliers. So if we're buying recurring needs, where departments and agencies are repeatedly ordering the same goods or services, we like to negotiate what we call a standing offer. Basically, it is to provide goods and services at prearranged prices under set terms and conditions when and if required. It's not a contract. Please understand that. It becomes a contract if there's a call-up issued against the standing offer. And the government is under no obligation to purchase until that time. Now, standing offers usually are used for goods, while supply arrangements are more flexible, if you want. They're used when the goods or services are bought on a regular basis, but when a standing offer is not suitable because of variables in the resulting call-ups. So, for example, if I'm trying to buy McAfee software, it comes with a software ingredient as well as a hardware ingredient. And That supply arrangement is negotiated to offer more flexibility and offer those two products under the one. Like standing offers, it's not a contract, and neither party is legally bound as a result of signing a supply arrangement alone. They allow client departments to solicit bids from a pool of pre-qualified suppliers for specific requirements. So these are the methods of supply that we used. I mentioned we use a bunch of databases. Pro Services covers all of the informatics professional services and professional non-IT services. And those are supply arrangements that you need to qualify yourself under if you're going to be providing informatics services or non-IT services. Another one that we use is the task-based informatics professional service, and that's the one I'm going to concentrate on showing you in the Buy and Sell website. This is very specific information technology services per se, and the rest of them are other methods of supply that we use. Task and Solutions Professional Services. Select is for construction, architectural and engineering services. And we have a directory of linguistic service providers because we use a lot of translation service. And finally, the temporary help services method of supply. So we're going to go to the Buy and Sell website, and I hope I can do this. Let me see. So let's go here, close this out. Okay. Why is it, it's not giving me the share my screen? Darn. Okay. I want that.
Oh, on Zoom, you have to select the screen you want to share and then press the share button. The two-step process.
Yeah, except that it doesn't give me the menu, the share menu that I had on top before.
Oh.
Which is really strange.
It's also just available in the main screen, Alain. At the bottom, when you click into it.
Yeah. Oh dear. I apologize. I just can't seem to get on this.
All right. Well, let's see.
Nope.
All right. Well, you know what? Let me try to show my screen again, and we'll talk through it in terms of the. We'll try to get through it. Okay. So.
Okay.
So let me share my screen here. I'm on the page already. Share supplier, share screen. All right. So does everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep, I can see it.
Thank you very much. Okay, Alain, go ahead.
Okay, I can't, just a minute. All right, so on the top, the first thing that you'll notice on the Buy and Sell website is you have a tab that's called For Businesses. And it's divided up, the website is divided up in for government, goods and services, applications, and procurement data. But the first one that you want to do is you want to go for businesses and register yourself as a supplier, because you will need what we call a procurement business number. And in that box there, they tell you exactly what is a PBM. It is mandatory requirement to do business with the federal government. So there's no two ways about it. You have to go and register. And it's a fairly clean process. There's no big reservations with this, but we do have an info line, a call center, the 1-800-811-1148 number that you can go to. and they will answer any procurement questions that you may have, or if you feel you're you're inundated with data that you can't deal with, they can actually register you in about 10 minutes flat. They have access to the Canada Revenue Agency database, and they can go ahead and do that. So you want to register yourself. That is the first step. It's mandatory, or else we can't pay you. If we go out of that, Louis, back to the, okay, if you go under procurement data, there's, whoop, went too quick.
Yeah, procurement data.
Anyway, there's a bunch of icons that you see under here, closing in 24, what's expired, what's amended, blah, blah, blah. Disregard those. The main one that you want to look at is what is active. Okay, what's going on out there? What are you looking for? So you click on active, and that brings you to the what they call the tenders opportunities on buy and sell. And right at the top there, it says enter your search terms. So we're going to go and look for software. So just type in software and search. Okay, now just scroll down, and we should come on to task-based informatics professional services. Yeah, so just click on that. So here's a tender notice, or they call it notice of proposed procurement. And I'll explain what that is. This is an old term that we use in procurement. It's been around for 25, 30 years, and it's because we still use mainframe systems. Instead of calling it a request for proposal, it's called the notice of proposed procurement, which is the same thing, really. The thing you need to look at here is the publication date. 2020-10-02. There's been an amendment to this published on the 13th of October, and now the new closing date is November 5th. Okay. The details, the GSIN number, that's the government service indicator number. It's a coding that the government of Canada uses to code everything that they buy in goods and services, and here you can see it's quoted under D302A, Informatics Professional Services. This particular tender is subject to all trade agreements, as you can see described there. So they have their own requirements to meet the special qualifications that you will need. They're looking for task-based information professional services in the tier 2. And it goes on to explain, but most importantly, just down here, you've got the contact information. That is the contracting authority for this particular tender. So any amendments, any questions that become part of this tender has to go through that contracting officer, and you're not permitted to discuss this tender opportunity with anybody else but him. He is the centralized figure. If not, if you talk to somebody else about this, you will be disqualified. So we have the solicitation documents, and if you double click on the first one, it brings up
This one here,
yep. Let's give it a sec. So here you go. Look at it, says right on the left-hand side, this is a solicitation amendment. Okay. Important that you know those, because contracts can be amended. The date changes, the invitation to tender and the date that you should remit that tender can change. If there are any questions that are being asked of the contracting authority, he has to publish those as well. So if you can sign up for amendments or any thing that happens to that particular notice. So if you scroll down here, keep going. There's there's amendment number 4. and a revision. There's been a revision for security requirements in this document. So very important that you note that. And as you go down, you're going to get annexes A, B, C, D, whatever, explaining to you the different processes. This is the security requirement checklist, Appendix C. And the other ones tell you exactly how to respond to the tender and so on. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because our time is short. And but I do want to point out to you that there are things that you need to look at, and mandatory requirements are certainly one of them. But my name and number will be sent to you. If you have any additional questions on any of what I've talked about today, please feel free to contact me. If you need a one-on-one to go through the process, I'd be more than happy to do that. So we're here to help you, so don't hesitate. And with that, I'll turn it back to Louis to finish up our presentation.
All right. Thank you very much, Alain. Hopefully that was fairly straightforward. Just the last couple of points here. As Alain said a couple of times, there is a lot there on BuySell.juice.ca. We have many different methods of supply. So maybe this might have seemed like a lot of information at once. I know you're all quite much more intelligent and very capable than I am probably. So maybe it doesn't seem like very much information, but procurement can be somewhat daunting sometimes. So as you saw early on in the presentation, we have 6 regional offices, 1 in Toronto. We are the NCR, the National Capital Region in Ottawa, and there's 4 others as well. And literally, we will sit down with you, and based on your business, based on what you do, we will outline the steps required to become what we call bid ready. Obviously, we can't write the bids for you because that's a bit of a conflict of interest issue. But at the same time, we will get you, we will help you through all the steps that get to that point. And from my background in the private sector as well, just that amount of like Sherpa-ing through the government process is a huge time saver and allows you to focus on the things that you're actually doing, which is running your business, and not be too concerned with government red tape and bureaucracy and whatnot. So hopefully we've gotten you at least a little bit interested in doing business with the government of Canada. As I said at the start, there's 2 additional programs / departments that I want to make sure you're aware of, especially as innovators. To be clear, Alain and I are not representatives of either one of these following programs, but we like to assist SMEs however we can. And if it's simply just a matter of connecting a supplier or a company with a department or a program that's doing something interesting and wants that innovation or that innovative capacity, then we are happy to make that connection. So the first one is Innovation Canada. Now, this is a huge sub-program of what used to be called Industry Canada. Now it's called ISED, Industry, Science and Economic Development Canada. And they do a whole whack of things, but just very quickly, I strongly recommend that you all go to innovation.canada.ca. The address is here, and here's their phone number. Well, you'll find a ton of programs and services tailored to your situation.
Louis,
Sorry, you need to share your
different screen now.
Yeah.
Oh, is it a different screen? I apologize.
Yeah.
Let me stop sharing, and I will share properly. We all have problems there. Let me go back here and share and now, are we good?
Yep.
All right.
Just come to the slide you're talking about.
I was there. That's odd. All right. As I was saying.
Perfect.
So please go to innovation.canada.ca. As you'll see, you'll get a tailored list of the right supports for your business. They even have innovation advisors, which you may be aware of or you may not, but whose job it is to navigate the government landscape. And finally, very importantly, they have a whole suite of more developed programs and services. including Innovation Solutions Canada's testing stream. So this is like the sub-team or whatever, it's a testing stream, which allows the government of Canada to buy and test your pre-commercial goods and services in a real life setting. This is actually a program that was started at OSME, which is our team, and it became so good and so effective that Industry Canada took it over. But it basically, it takes pre-commercial stuff and tests it with departments that may be suitable for buying it down the road. So it's a very successful program. In a similar vein, there's ideas. So this is national defense specific. And in short, they issue challenges based on problems that they need or will need solving, and look to innovators to come with solutions. So right now, they're in the midst of a challenge for what they call their pop-up city. So basically, like a whole suite of buildings and structures and infrastructure that can be deployed very quickly and set up very quickly in a whole range of environments. It's extremely fascinating stuff. So it's very much focused on innovation support within the national defense context. And as you can see here, they've done a lot of challenges. They've committed a lot of money. So there's definitely a lot of interest and capacity there. So Hersey, I believe you were talking about early on about the demand. That is absolutely something that the government of Canada is really recognizing and focusing its attentions on, making sure that within their departments, they're able to issue challenges and promote and encourage that innovation, so that the companies can grow, but also so that it's usable by the government. So I think it's kind of a win-win type arrangement. So that is the end of our presentation. Apologies for the technical difficulties, but we kind of ran through a lot of information, like I said at the start. And of course, we are here to answer any questions you have. If you have any questions about your specific company and would rather a one-on-one, of course, like I said, we are eager to do that, and we will provide our contact information as a follow-up to this presentation through Peter. So that you were able to reach out to us or to any, to be honest, of the regional offices. We are always happy to help you and help suppliers and SMEs do business with the government of Canada. Peter.
Hi, everybody. So if you have any questions, feel free to just go off mute and ask them, or you can ask them in the chat. And I've also just chatted in there that if you, in the coming hours or days, you come up with a question, you can kind of send it to me. But we'll just open the floor at this point for any questions.
I have a couple of questions, please.
Go ahead.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. The first question, maybe you indicated to the answer, but just to make it more clear, how do I get my company pre-qualified for procurements by the government of Canada, so I can be contacted and listed within the companies that will be contacted for any supply? And the second question, I'm new here, so I don't know the real law. It's clear from what Alain explained, thank you so much, that after the bidding, after the bid is published, so I'm not allowed to contact the technical authorities of that specific requirement. But before that, am I allowed, especially if I have a new product and I need to drag the awareness of the customer of existence of that product and how it works, and get it tried by end users before they might decide to buy it through the procurement authorities? Am I allowed to do this? And who can help me to contact these authorities, these technical authorities? For example, fire services in Canada in general, to try my products and to explain about them.
Interesting question. Okay, so the first thing is you need to register yourself, register your company. and obtain that procurement business number, or else we can't do business with you. Okay, and that is the first step. And you go to the buy and sell website, as you saw, under the registration process, and proceed with that. There are numerous programs out there that do testing. Unfortunately, as we had mentioned, our program used to be called Build in Canada Innovation Program, became so popular that we had to transfer it to Innovation Canada. So they have a page where you can actually go to walk through a bunch of questions that they ask, and they can provide you with an innovation advisor to help you out in terms of finding the right spot or the right place to have your product tested if need be, if they have a need for that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but
I could also add a little bit as well, Anas. So you actually asked a really good question at the end there in terms of before the bids are out, how do I make my myself noticed and known? And that is, honestly, that is something that I think a lot of people forget. Like in terms of getting pre-qualified, it really depends on the type of business and that you run, like the type of service and whatnot. And we are happy to sit down with you and actually kind of guide you through that process, because depending on the type of contracts you'll be bidding on, like we were showing tier 2 for the TBIPs thing, like it really depends on the size of the contract and whatnot. But we were happy to sit down with you to actually figure out exactly which stream would make sense for you. Mm-hmm. But in terms of before the bids are happening, in terms of getting yourself known, that is absolutely something that I think a lot of businesses forget. Like when they get qualified, they think that that's kind of it. Like that's all they need to do. Like the contracts will start coming in. But this is sales, right? You'll need to get yourself known. And what we do at OSME is we look at, for example, depending on the type of good and services or service that you provide, we look at the government published contract awards, and we look at which departments are the ones that buy your good or service, right? So if, for example, we look and hypothetically, it's Parks Canada and Health Canada that are the ones that tend to buy your service, then we can look more specifically at them and who in their organization you could start doing some reach outs to. Now, of course, if it's a big department like PSPC or a DND, or for example, like that, there might be a bit of trial and error on that part, but we are happy to guide you in that direction to kind of show you which are the ones that actually buy your good or service. Alain, is there anything else that I forgot on that side?
No, that's very good. Thank you.
Right.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Thank you so much. But can you just remind me how I contact you again and how I get your guidance in the future?
Yes, you can contact the Office of Small Medium Enterprise. My contact information will be shared with you through Peter, I believe, and you can contact me directly.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
We will provide the slides in PDF format because of government rules. But with that file will be our contact information as well, both Alain's and my contact information, just so you have it in an email.
Thank you so much.
We have a question here, Louis, in the chat. I don't know if you've seen it, about technical textiles. During this crisis, we invented a new mask. We want to contract with Metrolinx to provide 10,000 units. You mentioned that there are more departments have flexibility with PPE. Any advice on how we can get the word out to the department buyers? As a matter of fact, if you look at the first page of buyandSell.gc.ca, there's a whole section on there about how the government buys PPE, and it will tell you exactly how you can go about bidding on those opportunities.
And if I can add as well, for the start of the COVID crisis, PSPC, our department, was centralizing a lot of the really broad, massive scale PPE purchases, like the masks, ventilators, gowns, gloves, you know, a whole range of PPE. But as we went along, we did not want to be an impediment to, like, say, a municipality or a hospital buying PPE. So what we did instead was we created what's called our supply hub. So if you just go on Google and enter supply hub PPE, I'll just type it in the chat here. Supply hub PPE. You'll find that first link is called Organizations Buying and Selling Personal Protective Equipment. And that is a centralized page that we created with a whole bunch of different links to the provinces, municipalities, with a whole bunch of added information, especially if you're an Indigenous firm, there's information on that there as well. So we really try to centralize all the demand for various PPE. So first things first, congratulations on getting that Metrolix contract. That's very exciting. But hopefully through that supply hub, you'll be able to find more organizations or more levels of government or just private buyers as well that are interested in buying your textiles.
So
I
we've
hope
got a
you guys
question.
don't mind if I jump in here with a quick question. Louis and Elaine, many thanks for the info session today. So I'm one of the founders at Mapped In. We're Canada's largest indoor mapping company in the commercial sector. We recently won this year a 7-figure contract with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to map the indoors for firefighters. You know, so when they show up at a building, they know what's going on. Did I hear properly that your office at OSME provides, you know, almost an introduction service, perhaps, to the various departments in the government that might then be a customer in Canada? Because I'm at a loss as to where to begin. It's not on the tender website right now. It's new. It's a new technology. How do I even go about talking to the right people? Can you help?
Ali, do you want to handle that one, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I mean, part of it is a bit of a little bit of digging, and you're right. Even our website, which we try to be as clear and presentable as possible, you kind of have to know the language, right? And so it's kind of a multifaceted little effort in terms of when we know exactly what the thing that is being presented, that's being sold is like, once we know like what it is, then we can figure out what the search terms are and really look at previously what are the departments that are that have bought the stuff. But also, as I said, there's some programs that are more geared towards innovation support. So depending on where you are in the process, there may be some angles there, as I talked about with Innovation Canada. But in terms of just finding people and contacts, that's something that is fairly doable. I mean, obviously it's not a 100% hit rate, but at the same time, as we say, like, governments publish their contract awards, like what they have actually bought in the past, on their websites. You just kind of have to know where it is and how to find that information. And that's where we come in. So if it's just a matter of finding, for example, if you know the kind of industry terminology or the GSIN code or whatever it is to when it comes to indoor mapping, well, that would be pretty huge for us. And that would give us, excuse me, that would get us quite a ways down the road in actually finding the people. But it's really just an effort with you to make sure that we are able to find those departments, and within those departments, the main contact people that might be suitable for selling your stuff. And quite honestly, usually, unless it's a person that gets bombarded, most people are quite happy to kind of point you in the right direction, because if it's an interesting solution, generally speaking, most people will want their department to have that solution. Like, especially when it comes to COVID, for example, it might not be directly relevant to you, but for COVID, like, we had a whole bunch of people come forward with, like, you know, mobile sanitation labs, various testing instruments, and a whole bunch of things. So obviously, we don't want to bureaucratize that whole process, right? So we want to make sure that, at the very least, people that we make the connection between the company and the department or the team or the person, ideally, that can actually, you know, move those things along. Sometimes it works, and sometimes there's a bit of a brick wall. But, you know, at the very least, what we can do is kind of, you know, get you going in that direction.
Thanks. And just a quick follow-up. So, you know, assuming with your help or independently, I reach out to some folks at D&D or ISED or whatever ISED is now.
Yes.
Do do I disqualify myself by saying, hey, I have this thing, the US government just bought it, it's in market already, it has the exact same application in Canada. How do I avoid tripping any wires that I shouldn't, because this is all new for me?
Alain, you probably know the rules more than I do, but I can.
Well, there's no real tripping over. I mean, there's 104 departments. It really is a sales job that you have to go through. But you're in Canada, I imagine.
Yep.
And so you have a Canadian identity. It's can't talk anymore. A matter of taking the proper steps to make sure that you're properly registered and that we can assist you, to get whatever resources that you're looking for. So I suggest to you that just give me a call directly and we'll have a one-on-one conversation and see where we can help you out.
Okay, but sorry to be annoying here, but if I just email somebody at D&D, that's not that, right? I can do that. That's okay to say,
Absolutely.
Hey, we're a Canadian company. Great. Okay.
Yeah, you can do that. And they have an ideas program. They're always looking for stuff. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we, as was said earlier, post bid, of course, post when the RFP is posted on BuySell, then contacting the technical authority is a problem. Before that, like as Alain said, it's really just sales. So they won't know about you if you don't make it a point to reach out, right? Especially if you're a newer firm. As much as the government has a lot of resources, it's not omnipotent, and therefore doesn't know about all the various awesome startups that are happening out there. So,
absolutely, sales is good with me. Thank you.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Innovation.
So there is a question in there about universities and colleges. The procurement process. Does this?
Yeah, it's very much similar. We have what we call collaborative procurement now that the Government of Canada has established. So it opens up the market for small, medium enterprises right across Canada. What they do is they use our methods of supply. In other words, we've negotiated with suppliers on terms and conditions, pricing, etc. So they don't have to do that step. They can use our method of supply and go ahead and buy directly. So hospitals are included in that, universities, colleges, anything that's para-governmental or governmental. So provinces, territories, etc., are all included in that collaborative procurement. So great opportunity for small, medium enterprise because it just expanded your market right across Canada.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Bill's got a question about support for startup community.
Yeah, so Bill, would you mind explaining a bit what you mean by innovation application in Canada requirement? Or is that like a kind of a made in Canada type question, or?
Okay, so I would like to understand that. Do you have any program to support for the startup company in the Canada? Because last time we have some project with the buy and seller, but look like that they want to do some prototype. But due to they go to procurement, the national procurement, and when prototype, we very hesitate. We don't know how to apply because you know that this one the prototype, and you pass through to the buy and sell, national buy and sell. Sometimes we can say that look like the Lego document. So sometimes like the startup company like us very hesitate because this one is prototype, but through the buy and sell, national buy and sell process. So we cannot apply because we say that if prototype, if something wrong and we get some Lego issue. So that if you have some the program, okay, that is prototype and to support the startup company, and we confident to go ahead. But now that the buy and sell is very national procurement, and we are we know that the prototype, and if something happen, and what happened with us, because we are ready to spend the money and the effort to do this one, and something wrong, and we get the legal issue. So if you have some program to say, okay, this one prototype, and to support the startup, even though you fail, we don't check you or we don't blame you. I'm happy to go ahead. But if in the BuySell, I very hesitate. And last time one project like this, and I cannot submit because I said very risky for us if we do fail. Yeah.
Right. No, of course, I understand that. And actually, well, two things. One, generally speaking, and this is very, 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 very broad. Generally speaking, a new startup might not be ready to sell to the federal government because you are developing your thing, you're prototyping and that kind of thing. So maybe it's more of a case for the newest startups just to bear in mind the possibility of selling to the federal government, so that maybe 6 months from now or a year from now, you're more in a position to do that. But just as at least you have the information and you know that we exist so that we can help you. But in terms of the prototype question versus the procurement question, I think that might be a kind of a stage of development question that that maybe you'll want to reach out to that innovation advisor service that I mentioned, because Innovative Solutions Canada, they talk about their, and you probably know these terminologies better than I do, but there's, you know, stages, right, of where a product is, right? There's like prototyping, and there's like, I think the testing stream focuses on stage 7 of R&D development or something or other out of the 9 phase steps. Anyways, all that to say that if it's a question of developing your prototype and investing in your prototype and seeing what supports there are for your prototype development, that I think Innovation Canada would be very, very useful as a resource to you, because they can really point you in the direction of the proper program and the proper advisors to really guide you based on your specific prototype and, you know, the field that you're in.
Okay, thank you. That's more clear now. Last time I cannot submit. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us, and thank Alain and Louis for turning up and giving such a fulsome explanation of the buy and sell process. I hope we were able to answer all your questions, and it was great having you with us today, and thanks very much.
And if not, please feel free to contact us. If you have any other questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, and look for the deck soon.
Yep, we'll send that this afternoon.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.